Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Sorry, I didn't see my timer start. I was
There we go.
uh,
I do want to give a shout out at this point to
Do you?
Mr. Skinny Pete 07.
Skinny Pete 07.
Skinny Pete 07. So for the last couple of weeks, man, this guy, I've just seen random comments by him left on a multitude of our videos. He's literally just gone through this series in the last couple of weeks. Like, it looks like quarantine for him has meant watching our series,
Oh, good.
which is awesome. Like, I've seen his comments on like just video, and then he just commented yesterday, which is why I wanted to pull this up. It was one that was not too long ago. Oh wait, except for is this a whole different?
Did you not find the right comment?
No, I found the right comment. I didn't even realize that this was a whole different series. He's watching a different season. It's a different season he's watching.
Oh,
For some reason, I thought it was this one, but he's watching episode 184 of last season. It must be, and he laughs and he says, "No one's ever." He's laughing at something you said at 9 minutes and 35 seconds in episode 184. He says, "No one's ever going to come back and watch this series years from now." He says, "Well, who looks dumb now, dude?"
well, what did I say?
That's what you said. Nobody's ever going to come back and watch this episode years from now.
Oh, I see.
And his response was, "Who looks dumb now?"
Got me. Thanks for the ad.
But that's awesome. That's awesome, Skinny Pete. It's like taking your time to roll through our stuff.
Well, hell, he ain't gonna hear this for another weeks.
Yeah. Well, if the quarantine lasts long enough, it might a week or two before he gets there because he's got nothing else to do.
Yeah. So how long do you think it's gonna last?
I'm minimum of another 2 weeks. I don't know what's going to happen after because there's been so much random talk. And like, is China really cleaned it up?
So it depends on, I don't know. Basically, I mean, it's hard to say. Like they've traced the first case back to a patient in well, they think the first case to a patient in China that was sick in November.
Right.
So there was a long time in between when people supposedly got sick and when we first started really seeing it. So like, how long will it take to know for sure if it's starting to spread like wildfire again in China? How diligent are they being with testing for everyone that is now well? Like, what is being done to verify that it is actually like solved, like case closed? Because if you read the article from the Imperial College of London, what they said is the reason why they say it takes 18 months to solve this is because they say, like I said last episode, requires a vaccine. The reason why they say this is the moment you like we do what we're doing right now. We all go home, we social distance when we do have to go out or whatever. But the moment that we've flattened the curve, everything's great, and people start leaving their house again, they're going to start the infection all over again. And so the best case scenario they gave was a repeat of what we're doing right now and doing it every 2 months, basically. So like,
I'm doing it every 2 months.
Yeah. So like, either we all stay home and continue what we're doing right now until a vaccine is made, or if we go back to like our mostly every normal day with still some social distancing, we're still going to end up back in our houses within 2 months. Because it's going to start spreading like wildfire once again. Really? It's not just going to go away. Yes, that's what they said. Like, I can read the whole summary to you. The summary is pretty short. It's like 3 paragraphs. Let me pull it up. The whole article is about 20 pages. And it's worth reading. I'd recommend it. But the summary is a little shorter. Hold on. Pulling it up.
I thought I had the fires under control in here, and I did not, apparently, at all.
All right. The global impact of COVID-19 has been profound, and the public health threat it represents is the most serious seen in a respiratory virus since the 1918 H1N1 influenza pandemic. Here we present the results of epidemiological modeling, which has informed policymaking in the UK and other countries in recent weeks. In the absence of the COVID vaccine, we assess the potential role of a number of public health measures, so-called non-pharmaceutical interventions, MPIs, aimed at reducing contact rates in a population and thereby reducing the transmission of the virus. You know what? Actually, there's a guy on Twitter that did a summary of this that's even shorter and easier to read. Okay. The Imperial College team plugged infection and death rates from China, Korea, Italy into an epidemic modeling software and ran a simulation. What happens if the U.S. does absolutely nothing? If we treat the COVID-19 like the flu, go about our business, and let the virus take its course, here's what would happen. 80% of Americans would get the disease. 0.9% of them would die. Between 4 and 8% of all Americans over the age of...
0.9?
Yes. Of total. 80% of the population would get the disease. 0.9% of them would die. Between 4 and 8% of all Americans over the age of 70 would die. 2.2 million Americans would die from the virus itself. People with severe COVID-19 need to be put on ventilators. 50% of the ventilators, 50% of those on ventilators still die, but the other 50% live. But in an unmitigated epidemic, the need for ventilators would be 30 times the number available in the U.S. Nearly 100% of those patients die. So the actual death toll of the virus would be closer to 4 million Americans in the span of 3 months. 8 to 15% of Americans over 70 would die. How many is 4 million people? It's more Americans that have died all at once from anything, ever. Its population of Los Angeles is 4 times the number of Americans who died in the Civil War on both sides combined. It's 2/3 as many people that died in the Holocaust. Americans make up 4.4% of the world's population. If we extrapolate these numbers to the rest of the world, that gives us 90 million deaths globally from COVID-19 in 3 to 6 months. 15 Holocausts, 1.5 times as many people that died in all of World War II. Now, of course, countries won't stand by and do nothing, so the Imperial College team ran the numbers again, this time assuming a mitigation strategy. All symptomatic cases in the U.S. in isolation, families of those cases quarantined, all Americans over 70 social distancing. The mitigation strategy is what you've seen a lot of people talking about when they say flatten the curve. So to try to slow the spread of the disease, the people most likely die to the people that most likely die from it, to avoid overwhelming hospitals. And it does flatten the curve, but not nearly enough. The death rate in the disease is cut in half, but it still kills 1.1 million Americans by itself. The peak needed for ventilators fails by 2/3, but it still exceeds the number of ventilators in the U.S. by 8 times. That leaves the actual death toll in the U.S. at right around 2 million deaths. The population of Houston, 2 civil wars, 1/3 of the Holocaust. Globally, 45 million people die, 7.5 Holocausts. Finally, the Imperial College ran the numbers again, assuming a suppression strategy. Isolate symptomatic cases, quarantine their family members, social distancing for the whole population, all global gatherings, most workplaces shut down, schools and universities closed. Suppression works. The death rate in the U.S. peaks 3 weeks from now at a few thousand deaths, then goes down. We hit but don't exceed the number of available ventilators. The nightmarish death toll from the rest of the study disappear. But here's the catch. If we ever relax suppression before the vaccine is administered to the entire population, COVID-19 comes right back and kills millions of Americans in a few months, the same as before. After the first suppression period ends in July, we could probably lift restrictions for a month, followed by 2 more months of suppression in a repeating pattern without triggering an outbreak or overwhelming the ventilator supply. Staggering breaks by city could be a bit better. But we simply cannot ever allow the virus to spread throughout the entire population in the way other viruses do because it's too deadly. If lots of people we know end up getting COVID-19, it means millions of Americans are dying. It simply can't be allowed to happen. How quickly would the vaccine be here? Last week, 3 separate research teams announced that they developed vaccines. Yesterday, one of them, with FDA approval, injected its vaccine into a live person without waiting for animal testing. That's an extreme measure that doesn't normally happen. Now, though, we have to monitor this test subject for 14 months to make sure the vaccine is safe. This part can't be rushed. If we're going to inoculate all humans, we have to make absolutely sure the vaccine itself won't kill them. It probably won't, but we have to be sure. Assuming the vaccine is safe and effective, we still take several months to produce enough to inoculate the global population. For this reason, the Imperial College team estimated that it would be about 18 months until the vaccine is available. During these 18 months, things are going to be very difficult and very scary. Our economy and society will be disrupted in profound ways. And if suppression actually works, it will feel like we're doing all this for nothing because infection and death rates will remain low. So that's the gist of it.
So I find it interesting that a lot of what's discussed in there is about ventilator rates.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you're trying to flatten this curve, because, you know, without being able to put people on ventilators, they die.
Well, to scare you a little bit more, I'd love to understand what they mean by ventilator rates, because when we discussed with our last Department of Health, or it was a Joint Commission regulatory meeting, we had a disaster like preparedness breakout session, and they talked about the national stockpile of ventilators and how there's 20 some odd thousand ventilators in the national stockpile that are literally there for cases of pandemics or something that's going to require an influx of the need of ventilators.
Mm-hmm.
What they've decided in the recent years, like very recently, to where the stockpile is still the same, but they don't know what to do about it, is the fact that they need to reduce the stockpile.
Why?
Not because they don't think that there's a need for that many ventilators, but because they know in an emergent situation, having that many ventilators doesn't help when they don't have the trained staff to use them.
How hard are ventilators to use?
Ventilate, well, for one, to intubate, to set up right, you just can't, an average person just can't do it. A nurse can't even necessarily run a ventilator. I could, back in the day when I worked in the ICU, if you were already intubated, because I don't know how to intubate, but if you were intubated, I could probably put you onto a ventilator and put it at a setting that you would live.
I mean,
it wouldn't be the ideal setting at all. Now, I've been so out of it, I would put you on a setting that might make you 10 times worse. I have no idea, because I'm so out of practice at what those settings are. Like, ventilators are not simple machines.
Really? I just assumed they were.
But that's what they very much talked about, the fact that they're talking about decreasing the national stockpile, because who cares if you have 20,000 ventilators if you don't have enough people to run 20,000 ventilators?
Huh. That's interesting.
And so it's interesting to listen to these numbers that you just talked about, because are they based at all on the national stockpile numbers of ventilators, or are they based on the national stockpile of what they assume that ventilators that can successfully be ran?
I think it's based on the number of ventilators we have, not number.
Because that might significantly change those end statistics.
Right. But today they did talk about a malaria drug that maybe will be useful. I mean, it's possible that this drug is going to change this whole outlook.
What made them even try? Like, that's the weird thing, and that's what Julia was talking about today. She's like, I don't even understand why they went toward this drug, because they're two completely different types of disease process.
Well, it's two drugs combined. It's not just one drug. I don't know why I don't know anything about anything, because I'm not a doctor type person. So,
but what made that? Because you saw that they came out and like officially said you should not use ibuprofen.
Did they officially say that? Because I saw
that was the news article. Excuse me, I'm hiccuping. The news article I saw said that.
So I
don't
saw
know
some
if
social media posts saying not to use ibuprofen, but I have not seen any like peer reviewed study that says ibuprofen negatively.
They're not going to have a peer reviewed study about COVID, and
I mean this Imperial College article was not just from them. It's like
I just watched a bee die in the ocean,
and there have been peer reviewed articles that have come out about tons of COVID related things. So I mean it is happening. But I have not seen any source of this ibuprofen thing that seems like a source I'm believing.
I'm more concerned about the peer review. If they really are pumping out peer reviewed stuff like super quickly all of a sudden, that's great. Usually part of the problem with medicine is to get peer reviewed things like published in front of people. It's usually like 18 months after it's worth it.
So this article right here was released an hour and 35 minutes ago. No, the World Health Organization is not recommending against ibuprofen for coronavirus symptoms.
But who says that one's the right one?
I mean, you don't believe the World Health Organization?
But who says that that's the right one? Because the one I said earlier said that W said not to use ibuprofen. So who wrote this article you're reading? Like, that's the thing, is there's so much misinformation out there.
Well,
at
this
this
is
point.
coming from the AP. You should trust the Associated Press.
Okay, and I don't know who the one was going to. I went to news.google.com in my list of articles. So I have no idea who that came from, but that was the headline. And I looked at it and was like, holy shit. And then I was like, oh, shit, got work to do. Like, I can't follow up.
Yeah, here's another one from NPR. Concerns about ibuprofen and COVID-19 are overblown and not true.
So I wonder where that even came from. Like,
It
who
came
all of a
from
sudden
some
started
stupid
just
fucking
pushing that out
Facebook
there?
post.
Oh, anti-vaxxers?
Probably. I mean, it came from some stupid social media. That's where it started, and people
So
just ran with it.
that how fucked up is that?
I mean, it's the same as like literally the shit you read on anti-vaxxer Facebook groups. Like, it's just misinformation. It's people that have decided something based on absolutely nothing, and they just run with it. Like, all these anti-vaxxers, like, they're going to be a major fucking problem whenever we do finally develop a vaccine for this thing.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Or heaven forbid, turns out that some vaccine for COVID turns out to be way more potent for you and works better if you've never had like a certain type of vaccine. God, heaven forbid that be the case.
Is that a thing?
I have no idea. I'm just saying, like, that would be.
Well, I mean, and that's one of my concerns about, we have the worst president at this time for this sort of thing. We could really be doing a little bit better in terms of leadership right now. But I am a little bit concerned that because I feel like a lot of what the decision-making process is being based on is, what can I do to still win my reelection? At least that's how Trump is seeing this. So I am a little bit worried that we have these vaccines in a trial, and he's going to try to force it past like the 14-month waiting period.
He's already trying to do that.
And that's my concern, because if it doesn't go through the inoculation test period and it does kill people, then you've given the anti-vaxxers fuel for life. Like,
God, I didn't think about that. But yeah, that's oh shit. It's absolutely true.
So, like, as much as it sucks, I think it's very important that the normal process goes through to make sure that this is a safe vaccine that we are administering.
But the sad thing is, like, experimental treatments are something that could save like hundreds and thousands of lives if given in an early time frame and they actually work. They're experimental, they could take that many lives. But how weird is it to think about that? You want to make sure something doesn't get done because it could give anti-vaxxers fuel, which, God, that's the society we live in right now.
I mean, not only that, but like if it is a vaccine that like 9 months from now everyone just drops fucking dead from, like whenever there's a vaccine for this, any sane adult's gonna get it, right? So like if it does kill everyone in 9 months, I'll be one of the ones dropping dead in 9 months because I'm gonna be the first in line to get this vaccine.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand your point. Like, we haven't looked at the long-term effects of even the short term. Like, with 9 months is like a short-term effect, but short term enough to say, hey, oh my God, it killed the vaccine, but at the same time, it killed your liver, and we didn't realize that.
Right.
I
guess that's one good thing about if this, what's the malaria drug called? It starts with a C.
Levaquin, something Quinn. Clenda.
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the one good thing about this drug is it's not a new drug,
Is it Tovaquin? Chloroquine. That's
Chloroquine,
the one that was. I knew it was a Quinn.
So I mean, the silver lining of that, if it is effective at all, at least it's a drug that the side effects are known. It's an old drug. It's been tested.
Yeah, it's a drug that people have been taking for decades, and we know the long-term effects of said drug. Which I believe, if I recall from that particular drug, the short-term effects are way worse, but they're more psychological. They're like people having like those vivid dreams of like being killed or something like that is like one of the.
Really?
really weird effects of.
Man,
I don't know if it's this drug. I just know a bunch of people who were in the Peace Corps who used to say that they used to stop taking their malaria medication because it would give them these really vivid dreams of like being raped.
wow.
And yeah, like hardcore like stuff, but very vivid. But that was like it was a short term effect and side effect of something that was like no long term sustaining problems with.
That's a terrible thing to have as a symptom when you're stuck at home.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but it's not the positive thing is it wasn't real and it doesn't like make you have those dreams for life. It's like while you're taking the drug, you have those potential to have those really like realistic dreams of bad things.
Right. That's pretty scary. How do you feel about the senators that in February were briefed on this and then sold all their stocks?
That's fucking insider trading.
It is, but is anyone
That's
going to do anything about it?
absolutely what I would think about that.
Like the governor,
No, nobody's going to do anything about it. Should they? Fuck yeah, they should.
like the North Carolina
I
guy.
thought you were going to ask a question on like what do you think about the people who were briefed on this in February and like didn't do anything about it. Well,
like literally,
actually
Roy, whatever the stupid his name is here in North Carolina, he was briefed on it. He went and sold $1.5 million worth of stocks and then made a public announcement not to worry about anything. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, he should go to jail for insider trading.
Yeah, Roy Moore. I mean, I voted against him for every chance I get, but he's still in office. I've done my duty. But
Martha Stewart went to jail for insider trading. I don't even know her story. I'd love to know her story to know how it compares to Mr. Roy Moore's story.
Yeah. I mean, and he's not the only one. There's others too. Senator Kelly Loeffler, I think, is another one. And she's married to Jerry something, the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. So like,
yeah, that's fucked up, is what that is. But at the same time, the whole insider trading thing, it like I understand why it like the rules exist because insider trading you have a leg up on the system, makes it unfair practices. But God, if you were told like, dude, you hold the stock, and by the way, tomorrow I'm going to put out this news article that's going to make that company like, put them under because I have proof that their CEO is like a child rapist. You're an idiot for holding on to that stock, right?
But if you sell it, then you broke the law. Like,
right. That's why I said that whole insider trading thing is such a weird area because I understand why it exists. But if you were ever told something that just you definitively knew, like, holy shit, I own all these stocks that's about to tank tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think that maybe there should be laws preventing politicians, like politicians,
from owning stocks at all.
Maybe. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but like maybe politicians should be more of a public servant kind of job where you're not out for profit. I mean, instead of what it is now, which is a for-profit job that just like makes insider trading easy. I mean, they deal with all these lobbyists coming in and doing, and so they this is not the only case of insider trade. I feel like in our government, it's happening nonstop.
Yes.
I mean, fuck. Trump can literally make a tweet and change the stock market. Like, how much is his family just guilty of insider trading every damn day for the last 3 years?
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying, like, public servants maybe shouldn't have an invested interest in the economy that they're trying to govern.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what is supposed to be that Trump gave away all his assets or something before he took office, right?
Well, yeah, the emoluments clause has just been fucked from the very fucking beginning. Like, he ain't getting rid of a peanut farm like past presidents, that's for damn sure. Yeah.
Yep.
But, I mean... That's the thing. Like, no one's looking at any of this right now because everyone's got the blinders on and all they can see is the virus. Like, I mean, shit, we're still in a presidential primary technically. I mean, at this point, it's kind of pretty much over. But like, I don't think anyone even knew that 3 states voted a few days ago.
Didn't one of them vote virtually?
I mean, a lot of them did mail in, but no, nothing's been changed. That a lot of the three other states postponed completely.
Oh, but they postponed. I was gonna say, I thought there was like some of those states actually had done virtual stuff, but I guess they just postponed it.
But I mean, just today they were talking about in the Senate voting virtually, and Mitch McConnell was like, "Nope." Like, I don't understand why they're not voting virtually. Like, why the fuck are all these
240 people in one room? Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, these are all the high risk old motherfuckers. Like, why are they all gathering together? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that does not make sense at all.
Very angry.
I mean, it's one of those situations where we can sit back and think that we're logical people, but when everybody around you is doing illogical things, I honestly question myself every day when I'm sitting at work going like, luckily I have an office like in a sub building by myself. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening at my organization right now?
Right.
And it makes me question my normalcy. And why is this so? Why was this big meeting announced and I'm the only one that seems to be complaining about it?
You can't be.
I would agree I can't be, but I also don't have any proof that anybody else is as well, at least not vocally. Like, and this is where I start to question myself, and I'm just like, I will tell you after this meeting invite came out, because it came out on a Wednesday and it's for a Friday meeting. And I text messaged the person who sent the invite and I said, am I reading this right? And they said, yes, it's mission critical. And I'm thinking, for one, it was mission critical. Why is it not tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, why is there a 48-hour grace period before some mission critical thing? And then I texted somebody else who I work with who is in a very high level position, but in a completely different department. And I said, I need to run something by you to see if I'm like crazy right now. And the first thing I said is, what do you think about the concept of holding an in-person meeting with this many people on this day? And the response from this person was, is it mission critical? And I said, I'm told it is, but I have no definition of that because it's not, there's no subject of said meeting.
Right.
Well, that's within the policy, was their response. And I'm just like, now you're making me really question if I should be upset about this.
Yeah. I remember one time I had some legal trouble, and when I went to court, the legal trouble was involving like I grew some pot one time, and it was not just one or two plants. And when it came time to go to court, the State Bureau of Investigation had weighed this pot, and the weight did not change from the police department to the State Bureau of Investigation. And when it was weighed at the police department, it was in 5-gallon buckets, and they they guesstimated the weight because it's in these buckets, and that's not the official weight anyway. The SBI is supposed to do the official weight. So the weight never changed. It was exactly the same number and an exactly even number, this much, 0 grams, whatever.
Like 200 grams.
I'm not going to say the amount.
But it was like even like that. Even.
Exactly.
Not like even like 232.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You mean even like a big round number.
Right. Because I mean, there was still like roots attached, which you're not supposed to weigh. It was in these buckets, whatever. They knew it wasn't the official weight, so they were just like, that's fine. It went to the SBI. This guy came back with the same exact weight, and he was soon thereafter fired. So whenever we went to court, we could not subpoena him because he was no longer a government employee. But this is the defense they gave the state. The state said it is the procedure to weigh this properly, so therefore that's what was done.
So for one, I find it baffling. You can't subpoena an ex-government employee. So whatever they did just becomes law?
I guess. I know that we were not allowed to subpoena him because he no longer worked for the SBI.
It's just so weird because if he did work there, you're allowed to subpoena him to realize that maybe he didn't do his job. But since he didn't work there, it's like scot free. Whatever he wrote down is just fucking like it's carved in stone.
Right.
It
And
is
my
not
my lawyer's
changeable.
argument was like it's unfathomable that this number would not change because from the date that it was pulled out of the earth and weighed to the date that the SBI weighed it,
It
3
didn't
weeks
wilt at
passed.
all.
Yeah,
There's no like
yeah, like
water.
3 weeks passed. How the fuck did it not lose any weight at all? Like, even if it was magically weighed exactly right at the police department, how was it not, you know?
The elusive 100, 200, whatever it was, the exact even amount
Right.
grams.
So, they just kind of reminds me of what you said. Like, this is the policy, so therefore it is correct. And
Yeah,
like, it just blows my mind whenever that's the stance you take because it's asinine and it's like, we're not idiots. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. It pisses me off.
Yeah. Well, it is the policy, therefore it must be
Therefore, it is
right.
correct.
It's there's no way it can be wrong.
It's all paper,
policy.
even.
It's
Wouldn't just go and put things on paper that are not correct.
that doesn't make sense. What kind of world you live in? That things are on paper that aren't right.
I don't know, man. It's very frustrating.
Yep, I'm probably gonna get fired soon. So.
Well, I mean, at least you might be able to get unemployment depending on whatever the fuck subset you match in this stupid bill that they passed finally that probably isn't going to help anybody.
$1,000. That's what I'm expecting.
Good luck with that. That won't even pay your mortgage, and you're no longer taking rent.
Nope, but hey, it's $1,000 more than I have now, so I should be happy, right? Because that's what it says on paper.
I guess. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we should get out of here. I hope this has entertained you and not stressed you out at all.
I'm sure it's just done the latter, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
All right. Well, thanks for
See you
watching,
guys.
everybody.
All right.